primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and thank you for watching one of my pre-release guides for Star Wars Unlimited's new and fourth set, Jump to Lightspeed. Now, Jump to Lightspeed pre-release begins on March 7th, where you're going to be introduced to new cards with new mechanics, new leader actions, new abilities, and new tokens. You're also going to see the growth among factions in Star Wars, like Rebels, Resistance, First Order, and Imperial. If this is your first time watching one of my guides, I'll let you know that we're going to be looking at commons and uncommons within this set that can strengthen the synergy with the leader you choose to play. There are going to be some great rares and legendaries that fit really well with some of these leaders, but the chances of you pulling a rare or legendary that does that is going to be a lot slimmer than your chance of pulling a common or uncommon in your 6 booster packs that can really fill out your deck and the theme you're working for. With that said, let's begin to look at some of these leaders and see what kind of fun we can have on pre-release day. Let's take a look at everyone's favorite Sith Assassin, Night Sister, Bounty Hunter, Pilot, and Separatist Commander, Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress joins Jump to Lightspeed as a Vigilance leader this set, with an action ability that says you can exhaust her to deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. Interesting, kind of reminds us of what we've seen in some other cards like Death Trooper. Now, as an epic action, if you control 6 or more resources, you can choose to either deploy Asajj as a leader to the ground arena, just like normal, where she is a 4/6 unit with grit. Or you can use the new deploy mechanic to deploy her as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit that has no pilot on it. That vehicle unit gets the stats of +3/+4, and attached unit is now a leader unit, and it gains grit, as well as an on-attack trigger that reads, you may deal 1 damage to a friendly unit, and if you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. Grit is one of those abilities that allows you to convert a lot of your damage into a higher attack. So when you equip Asajj Ventress here to something that has 2 health, it now has 6 health. This means you could hit for a total of +5 if there are 5 damage counters on Asajj Ventress. So she can do a lot of damage really quick. And because she's a leader unit with her new upgrade, you're going to make sure that there are less cards that can remove a vehicle like that. Let's take a look at some cards that are going to work well with Asajj in your local pre-release. The first one's going to be an Interceptor Ace. Interceptor Ace is a 3-cost 2/3 ground unit with grit, or you can use the piloting mechanic to equip it to a vehicle for a different cost, and it's going to get a +2/+3 and also have grit. With Asajj's mechanic, pinging one of your grit units is going to work out better for you than pinging non-grit units. The next one is the Banshee. The 5-cost signature ship of Asajj Ventress is a 4/5 space unit. On attack, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the amount of damage on the Banshee. So this means if you're pinging it a little bit to with Asajj's ability to ping other units, you're now going to have essentially a great little engine that's pinging other cards your opponent controls on the board. Lastly is the Onyx Squadron Brute in the leader aspects. It says when defeated, heal 2 damage from a base, and it is a 2-cost 2/3 space unit. So you can ping it yourself and threaten your opponents a little bit to give you the life when you need it. It's also a great early drop. Next is going to be the Landing Shuttle for the Vigilance aspect. It's a 2/4 that says when defeated, you may draw a card. It's a great card because your opponent doesn't really want you to get that type of advantage. You can swing a bit and has enough health to take some of Asajj's pings. Lastly is the Academy Graduate, a 2-cost 1/2 ground unit, or if you want to use its piloting ability, you can give it a vehicle a +1/+2 as well as Sentinel, ensuring that your opponent has to swing into that vehicle like the Landing Shuttle. Remember, Sentinel units, especially with higher health, are going to deal more damage to your opponents that have to swing into them. So if you throw the Graduate on the shuttle, you now have a 3/6 with the possibility of doing up to 5 points of damage if it has 5 health on it. In the aggression aspect, the Von Reg's TIE Interceptor is one I really enjoy here because it's a 3/4 for 3, and while this unit has 4 or more power, it gains Overwhelm. It also says when this unit has 6 or more power, it gains raid 1. If you want to put Asajj Ventress onto this ship, you're going to hit some of these other triggers and it's going to be great. That is a lot of damage. Grit, Overwhelm, raid 1. This means all your excess damage that goes into killing a small health unit is going to go immediately into your opponent's base, and that is a lot. Speaking of a lot, let's look at the War Juggernaut, a ground vehicle unit that costs you 6 resources. It is a 3/7, and this unit gets +1/+0 for each damaged unit. Each damaged unit, that is yours and your opponent's. When played, you deal 1 damage to each of any number of units, yours and your opponent's. So you can buff up your grit units. You can also buff up this War Juggernaut. And if you still haven't deployed Asajj, well, you can deploy her on the War Juggernaut and make it even stronger. In the command aspect, look at this wingman for Victor 3 here. A 3-cost 4/3 ground unit with the piloting mechanic of 1 that allows you to play it as an upgrade and give an experience token to another unit, as well as a +1/+1 to the vehicle you're equipped with. Getting that +1/+1 and the experience token can really set up grit for some of your other opponents if you need to go green. Sorry, for some of your other units if you need to go green. The TIE Ambush Squadron is another one of those cards. It has ambush and 3 health, so it could survive at least a hit and hit again with Asajj's grit abilities. You also have when played and when defeated, you can create a TIE Fighter token. So if you need to kill this unit, you can in order to create a TIE Fighter in order to kill one of your opponent's weaker units. And the cunning aspect, the corporate light cruiser for 6 is a 4/6 ambush with raid 1. If you're going to use ambush cards and grit, there's a lot of cool mechanics here. Yes, some of these cards are a little bit on the later part of the game or middle part of the game, but if you're able to attach Asajj to a corporate light cruiser after it ambushed into something, you're going to have a much stronger light cruiser and a much bigger threat for your opponent to deal with. In yellow, we see the Contracted Jump Master. Love this art here. It's a 3-cost 2/4 with Sentinel, and we've already discussed why Sentinel is going to be good with mechanics like Asajj's grit and damage abilities. Keep the damage going with cards like the TIE Bomber and the TIE Dagger Vanguard. Perfect villain cards that deal damage when they either come into play like the Vanguard here, or when they attack every turn. Dealing 3 indirect damage to the defending player here when the TIE Bomber attacks is one of the new mechanics found within the set. Indirect damage means it is going to be unpreventable damage, and your opponent has to assign the value among the bases and units they control. Lastly is going to be these non-aspect cards. The Retrofitted Airspitter has that ambush and a lot of health, which we've already talked about. And the Flanking Fang Fighter is just a solid 3-drop. The 3 health is okay, but when it attacks, if you have another fighter in play, you get raid 2. So if you do have to equip this with another pilot to strengthen it a bit, if you're able to give it grit, it's going to do a lot of damage. This is my advice if you're going to play Asajj Ventress at your local Jump to Lightspeed pre-release or sealed event. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. Did you end up having a great time? What was your record? Did you get some solid rares or legendaries that really stood out to you with this type of deck? I'm curious. Again, good luck at your next event with Jump to Lightspeed, and may the Force be with you.